Okay, so right now we're going to talk about section 7.5, applying the properties of logarithms. Last chapter we talked about evaluating them and what it actually means. Here we're going to just play around with the form a little bit. We're going to use some specific properties. Your I can statement is I can rewrite logarithmic expressions. Here are the properties of logarithms. These are in your textbook, right in the beginning of the section 7.5, so you're going to want to make sure they get in your notes. First property here is the product property of logarithms. And again, we're letting m, n, and b represent numbers here. Okay? So let's stick some numbers with the property just to make sense of it. Let's pretend instead of log base b of mn, let's put log base 2 of 24. Just to put some numbers there. This property says that if I have a log of base 2, again, cannot put that in the calculator, there is a property that will let me rewrite it. Okay? Now this one is m and n, and they split m and n up. Okay? I don't have two numbers there right now, but I can get two numbers. We can think to ourselves, what two numbers could multiply, because look here, we have m times n, what two numbers will multiply to be 24? And there's two different options here. We're just throwing an example out there. So we're going to say log base 2 of, let's pick 4 times 6. We rewrote 24 into 4 times 6, and in a later slide you'll see why we do that. And my property tells me, because 4 times 6 is the same as 24, I can split this up. I can rewrite this as log base 2 of 4 plus log base 2 of 6. And you'll see that in a later slide, why we actually want to do that. Same type of reasoning for the quotient property here. If I have the log, we'll say log base 3 of 4/3. Okay, this property says that is the same as taking log base 3 of 4 minus log base 3 of 3. Okay, and again, it's following a property. You guys have used properties before. You follow it literally. My power property says if I have log base 2 of like 3 squared, I can take that exponent and move it to the front of my logarithm. I can rewrite that as 2 times the log base 2 of 3. Okay, so here is where we're going to actually use those properties, the purpose for it. We are given, in my problem, that the log base 4 of 3 is 0.792. We're given that information. It's almost like they're telling me x equals this value. Okay. We're also given log base 4 of 7 equals that. We want to use those two facts to evaluate these logarithms. And we're going to use those properties because remember, we cannot just type this into our calculator. Okay? So we want to use our property here. We ask ourselves, which property? Okay, I see that we are dividing two numbers. So we want to use that quotient property. Quotient property, if you look back in your notes, which you should have, tells me to split this logarithm up and subtract them. So log base 4 of 3/7, according to my property, is the same as log base 4 of 3 minus log base 4 of 7. And we did that because we want to focus on 3 and 7 because we're given those facts already. We were told log base 4 of 3 is 0.792. We were also told log base 4 of 7 is 1.404. We're just subtracting decimals here. When I subtract those in my calculator or in your head, however you do it, you get negative 0.612. Okay? Take a second and try B and C. do them like the previous slide. We have a 21. Think to yourself, can I rewrite 21 using 7 and 3? And then use a property to split it up. Okay, so you should have given it a try. Again, the idea is we want to rewrite these numbers, these bigger numbers, using 7 and 3 if possible, because we're given 7 and 3. Notice we don't have to worry about the base. The base is the same for all of them. Okay? So we rewrote 21 into 7 times 3 because we have a product rule that tells us I can split that up. I can write log base 4 of 7 plus log base 4 of 3. That's the information I'm given. So it's super easy just to plug in what they told me. They told me what those logs equal and add them up, and you should have gotten 2.196 for the B. Now for C, that's a little different. We have 49. You really can't rewrite 49 using 3. But we know that 49 is the same as 7 squared. So we're going to use our exponent rule. It tells us that exponent gets in front of the logarithm. So we ended up just multiplying 1.404, which is what I was told, times 2. And you should have gotten 2.808. Okay, so now we want to expand this logarithm. And again, all we're going to do is just use those properties that we just talked about. So I'm going to look at this logarithm and I'm going to say, okay, the first thing I see is that we're dividing. I'm not going to worry about the x to the third or anything like that. We're taking one term, dividing by another. So I'm going to split it up that way using my quotient rule. Dividing two terms is the same as subtracting each one separate. So I will rewrite this as log base 6 of the top, 5x to the third, minus log base 6 of the bottom. And to help you remember it, think of your exponent rules. Whenever you're dividing two exponents, you actually subtract. Kind of the same thing for logarithms. You just have to make sure you stick a log in there. Okay? So let's look at it again. We don't have to evaluate, don't have to solve, they just want it to expand. So I'm going to say, can I do anything else here? And I'm going to look and I'm going to see, well, I have 5 times x to the third. I don't want to move this third to the front there and use that other rule yet because this 5 is in the way. So I'm going to split these guys up. I'm multiplying two terms. I can split those up with addition. So I'm going to rewrite it as log base 6 of 5 plus, your product rule uses plus, log base 6 of x to the third. And then we still have our log base 6 of y. Now we're going to take it a little bit further. I have one more thing I can do. And I bet you can see it's with that other rule, the exponent rule. Anytime you have an exponent, that moves in front. So you have log base 6 of 5 plus 3, because this moved in front now, times log base 6 of x minus log base 6 of y. And I look at that and I say, I don't have anything I can split up. I don't have any more exponents, so I'm done. That's all I can do.